When people think of the Oregon coast, they usually picture Cannon Beach and call it a day. But what if I told you there's so much more waiting beyond that famous rock? The Oregon coast definitely gets overshadowed by places in California and Washington, such as Big Sur, beautiful beaches there. And in Washington, you have Olympic National Park and just the coast of Washington in general. So I feel like Oregon definitely gets overlooked because of those places. We have road tripped the Oregon coast and it is just spectacular. It is one of my favorite places in America. Forget just coastlines, it's one of my favorite. From towering sea stacks, hidden beaches, historic lighthouses, crashing waves, sea lions, waterfalls, and some of the most jaw dropping views you've ever seen, this place has it all. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's hit the road. Our first stop is Astoria, the small coastal town. It's super charming. But before we start talking about Astoria itself, does it look familiar to you? If you are an 80s or 90s kid, it might look familiar because of The Goonies. The Goonies was filmed in different locations around Astoria, and one of the more unique places in Astoria is the Oregon Film Museum, where they have all things Goonies. And it's not just Goonies stuff. There were other films here too, Kindergarten Cop, Stand By Me, things like that. So they have all of that in the museum, but they focus mainly on the Goonies. There are interactive things for the kids to do. They can make their own movie and you can get it sent to your email. It's a really cool place. We really enjoyed it. And it is actually the jail from the Goonies that they use as the museum. Another thing you don't want to miss in Astoria and that you probably can't miss is the Astoria Megler Bridge. It connects Washington and Oregon. It stretches 4.1 miles across the Columbia River, and it is the longest continuous truss bridge in North America. I definitely recommend driving across it. It's just absolutely amazing. You can get some of the best views of Astoria by climbing the Astoria Column. It's 125 feet tall. It's about 164 steps, I believe, and it's a perfect way to introduce you to the Pacific Northwest. One of the most unique sights on the Oregon coast isn't a lighthouse, a beach, or a scenic overlook. It's the rusting skeleton of a ship that has been sitting in the sand for more than a century. In 1906, the ship actually was thrown off course by a storm and it ran aground right near Fort Stevens. This is at Fort Stevens State Park. At low tide, it's pretty easily accessible, and at high tide, it's a little bit harder to get to, but I believe you can still get to it. And it's a photographer's dream. Like, it's just amazing. The kids loved playing on it. It was just such a unique experience that we had never had before. Today, the Peter Iredale has become one of Oregon's most iconic landmarks. It's easy to visit, completely unique, and one of those stops that's way more impressive in person than any photo can actually capture. Next up is Cannon Beach, and yes, it's probably the most famous beach on the entire Oregon coast, but after visiting for ourselves, we can see why. The star of the show is the Haystack Rock. It's a massive sea rock that rises 325 feet out of the ocean just offshore. You've probably seen it in photos, but seeing it in person is a completely different experience. It's massive. At low tide, you can walk out towards the rock and explore the tide pools, which is a dream of mine. In the south, it's a little bit hard to find tide pools. They're very scarce out here. So when you go to the west coast and there's all these tide pools all down the coast, it's just amazing. You can see all the wildlife, the starfish, the anemones, everything. And that was one of my favorite parts about visiting the beaches in Oregon. We spent a few hours here and we just kind of relaxed. We let the dog do a walk. We took lots of photos and the kids played in the sand and in the water. We didn't have the bathing suits on this day, so they didn't get into the actual water. But we explored the beach and had a great time, and it was just magical. It's just one of those places I've always wanted to go to. Finally got to go, and it was great. Now, the town itself is like right off of the beach. You can explore all the restaurants, coffee shops, galleries, all that kind of stuff if you want to do the town as well. And if you didn't know, Cannon Beach was actually in the opening scenes of The Goonies during the Fratelli police chase. Just a few minutes north of Cannon Beach is Ecola State Park, and if you're looking for one of the best views on the Oregon coast, this might be it. From the overlook, you'll get an incredible view of Cannon Beach, Haystack Rock, and miles of rugged coastline stretching into the distance. It's one of those places where you'll pull into the parking lot and immediately reach for your camera. The views are just one thing. There's also hiking trails, hidden coves, forests, and plenty of wildlife. Keep an eye out for elk, bald eagles, and even migrating whales during the right season. You have Cape Kiwanda, which is known for its massive golden sandstone dunes that rise right above the ocean. Climbing to the top is a workout, but the views are absolutely worth it. You'll get sweeping views of the Pacific Ocean and a smaller version of Haystack Rock. What if I told you there's a place on the Oregon coast where it looks like the ocean is being swallowed by a giant hole in the earth? This is Thor's Well, one of the most fascinating and one of the most dangerous natural attractions on the entire coast. At high tide, the waves rush into this massive opening in the rocks before exploding back out in every direction, creating the illusion of a bottomless drain in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The walk down to Thor's Well is a short walk, but the views are simply breathtaking. I recommend staying a little ways back from actual Thor's Well because at high tide it is very aggressive and you could get sucked into the well. Hopefully that never happens. I don't know if it's happened before, but when we were there, there was some lady standing on the literal edge of it with a baby. And I was just like, don't be that idiot. Don't be that person. You can still see it without getting that close. Really, you can. You can check the tide times online and make sure to arrive an hour before high tide. Thor's Well is really something special. It is more well known than some of the other places on the coast, but is absolutely worth going. It wasn't super crowded when we were there, and the kids loved it, and it's just something to check off your bucket list and say that you did. High on a cliff above the Pacific Ocean sits Heceta Head Lighthouse. It is one of the most photographed lighthouses in America, and once you see it, you'll know why. Getting there is part of the experience. It's a short hike that takes you through a beautiful coastal forest before the trees open up to reveal incredible views of the lighthouse, the rugged coastline, and the endless Pacific Ocean stretching to the horizon. This lighthouse has been guiding ships along this dangerous stretch of coast since 1894, and it's still active today. Just below the lighthouse, you'll find Heceta Beach. It's a wide stretch of sand that feels much quieter than some of Oregon's most famous beaches. It is the perfect place to take a walk, watch the waves roll in, or just sit and enjoy the view. We actually caught sunset here, and it was just gorgeous. Heceta Head is such a beautiful place. The beach, the lighthouse, everything. It has everything: history, hiking, incredible scenery, and one of the most iconic views on the Oregon coast. This was one of my favorite stops because it just had everything. If you only have time to stop at one viewpoint on the Oregon coast, Cape Perpetua has a pretty strong case for being the one. It rises more than 800 feet above the Pacific Ocean, and it's the highest viewpoint you can reach by car on the Oregon coast. The views, absolutely incredible. From the top, you can see miles of rugged coastline, waves crashing against the rocky shore, and endless stretches of forest meeting the ocean. As beautiful as the Oregon coast has been so far, Samuel H. Boardman's scenic corridor might just be the stretch that completely stole the show. It's a 12-mile section of coastline near the California border, and it's packed with dramatic cliffs, hidden coves, sea stacks, and some of the most breathtaking scenery we've seen anywhere in the country. Around every corner, there's another viewpoint, another hidden cove, or another trail leading somewhere incredible. Every time you pull over for a view, it never disappoints. All the views are amazing. I can't speak highly enough about this place. We took so many pictures and had so much fun seeing all the views. One of the highlights is natural bridges. After a short walk through the forest, you're rewarded with an incredible view of rock arches rising out of the ocean. It just doesn't feel or look real. The turquoise water, rugged cliffs, and the natural rock formations make this one of the most photographed spots on the entire Oregon coast. Not far away is Secret Beach, and despite the name, it's not much of a secret anymore. Still, getting there feels like discovering a hidden world. It's a short but steep trail that leads down to a beautiful beach surrounded by towering cliffs, sea stacks, and crashing waves. At low tide, you can explore the shoreline and get up close to some of the most dramatic coastal scenery in Oregon. This is definitely a place for people that like to explore. You can find stuff around every corner. There's so many things to see and so much that you can discover here. It was just an amazing experience being at Samuel H. Boardman. So make sure to add this one to your list. It's in my top 3 places to visit on the Oregon coast because it is just that spectacular. Let's talk about Tillamook. Most people know Tillamook for the cheese, but visiting the Tillamook Creamery is much more than just grabbing a block of cheddar. You can watch parts of the production process, learn about the area's dairy farming, and of course, sample some of the cheese. However, there is so much more to Tillamook than just the creamery. Just a short drive from the creamery, you have Cape Meares Lighthouse. It's on a dramatic cliff overlooking the Pacific, and it's a small lighthouse that has been guiding ships since 1890. While it's much smaller than some of Oregon's other lighthouses, what it lacks in size, it makes up for in scenery. Not far from the lighthouse is another unique attraction, the octopus tree. No one knows exactly how this massive Sitka spruce ended up with its unusual shape, but its giant twisting branches made it one of the most photographed trees in Oregon. If you're looking for a beach town that feels a little more laid back and a lot less crowded, Oceanside might be one of Oregon coast's best hidden gems. One of the coolest things to do is walk through the tunnel at the north end of the beach at low tide. The short tunnel leads to a hidden stretch of coastline where you'll find tide pools, sea caves, and even more incredible views. It feels a little like discovering a secret beach. Sitting on a narrow strip of land that juts nearly a mile into the Pacific Ocean, Yaquina Head Lighthouse is the tallest lighthouse in Oregon. Standing 93 feet tall, it's been guiding ships along this rugged coastline since 1873, and more than 150 years later is still doing its job. The views here are incredible. From the cliffs, you can watch waves crash against the rocks below, spot seabirds nesting on the offshore islands, and if you're lucky, you can even catch a glimpse of whales passing by during migration season. One of our favorite parts was exploring the tide pools at the Cobble Beach. At low tide, you can find colorful sea stars, anemones, and all kinds of marine life hiding among the rocks. We also just enjoyed walking on the Pebble Beach and hearing the click clack of the Pebble Beach. We don't have Pebble Beaches out here, not that I found anyway on the East Coast, so this was really cool for us. You can go inside the lighthouse. However, you have to stay in the bottom level. The upper level is closed to visitors at this time. I don't know if it will open up to visitors. There's also, when you enter the area, there's also a visitor center and museum that you can check out. I'd have to say our favorite part was definitely the Pebble Beach, just different from anything else we've done, and the views were incredible. You can also experience the Sea Lion Caves. They're just north of Florence, and it's a privately owned attraction that's home to America's largest sea cave. An elevator takes visitors nearly 200 feet down into the cave, where hundreds of wild sea lions gather throughout parts of the year. Depending on the season, you might see sea lions lounging on the rocks inside the cave, barking at each other, or swimming in and out through the massive ocean opening. During other times of the year, many of them gather on the rocks outside where the views are just as good. Even if the sea lions aren't inside the cave when you visit, the scenery alone makes this stop worthwhile. The cliffs here offer incredible views of the Pacific Ocean, and during migration season, there's even a chance to spot whales offshore. Inside the cave, it's dark, but they do have informational videos and just information and statues and things you can take pictures with. The cave is connected directly to the Pacific Ocean, allowing sea lions to come and go whenever they want. Again, depending on the season, hundreds of them may gather inside the cave, while at other times they prefer the rocks outside. We really enjoyed it here, but probably wouldn't come back just because of the price. It was a bit expensive, and we've already done it once, so we can just say we've done it, and that'll be that. After hundreds of miles, countless viewpoints, hidden beaches, lighthouses, sea stacks, and more scenic stops than we could possibly fit into one video, it's easy to see why the Oregon coast left such an impression on us. The Oregon coast isn't the kind of place where you rush from attraction to attraction. It's the kind of place where you slow down, roll down the windows, and enjoy whatever you find around the next corner. For the Oregon coast, there wasn't one thing that made it special. It was all the little things, the random viewpoints, the beaches, the places where we said, let's just stop and take a quick look, and ended up staying way longer than we expected. Those are the moments we'll probably remember most. So if you're thinking about visiting the Oregon coast, don't just focus on the big attractions. Leave room for the unexpected, because some of our favorite memories happened when we had no idea what was waiting. Thanks for following along with our family, and if you enjoy road trips, hidden gems, and honest family travel, hit subscribe, and we'll see you on the next adventure.